Hi. Today's mini lecture is on Article 3 of the Constitution, the Judicial article, and I'm going to talk about the board quite a lot. This is a very short article. If you'll follow along with me, I've got the textbook again here, and find a copy of the Constitution and follow along with me if you will. Now, Section 1 says that the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judicial power of the United States. So here we have Article 3, the Judiciary, and I note here that I wrote the United States has a dual judicial system. We have federal courts that deal with federal law and the Constitution of the United States, and we have state courts that deal with state law and the state constitutions. So most of you, if you've had any experience with courts at all, probably were in state courts. Federal courts are not so many cases, but there are plenty of them, and we're going to talk about the federal courts first. Your chapter in the book on the federal judiciary is full of good information, and then the chapter on the state courts is good also. All right, look at this again just to refresh your memory. In the federal government, we have three branches of government. We finally pick up the third one here. Remember this, the people in the legislative branch elect the House and the Senate, and the House for 2-year terms and the Senate for 6-year terms. And then we vote and select electors from our states to be in the Electoral College, which elect the President and Vice President. And then, for 4-year terms, and then the President appoints for life, the Supreme Court of the United States, the judges of the Supreme Court, and the federal judges in the courts of appeal and the district courts. These are the lower courts that Congress from time to time ordains and establishes. So the Constitution will create this one Supreme Court, and then the Congress will either create more and more of these courts as we need them, or they can abolish these courts if they feel that we don't need them for some reason or another. You'll notice that there's one Supreme Court. At the moment, there are 13 circuits, geographical boundaries. You have a good map in your chapter showing the circuit court district boundary lines, 13 of them. Texas is in the 5th Circuit, and Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi are in that particular circuit. And then there are district courts, 94 of them are around the country. Now, the district courts are in the trial level. This is where you would have your trial in the federal court system. And then this court and this court are in the appellate level, meaning the word appellate jurisdiction means you go there on appeal. You've got to start here, and then you go here on appeal, and this level right here is the court of last resort for federal issues. So going back to the Constitution then, the judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, it says, hold their offices during good behavior. And I guess for their lifetime, if you behave, you can stay in there. And they're going to hold the good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished while they're in office. So the legislative branch cannot diminish their salary if they don't like their decisions on cases. That's kind of a good thing that the framers back in 1787, when they wrote the Constitution, had in mind. Now, the next section, Section 2, deals with the jurisdiction, and the word jurisdiction means what kind of cases go to federal courts as opposed to state courts. So it tells you right here, the judicial power shall extend to all cases and in law and equity arising under the Constitution. So anything dealing with the Constitution goes to federal court. The laws of the United States, federal law, goes to federal court. Treaties, any federal treaty case dealing with that goes to federal court. To all cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers and consuls. Maritime jurisdiction, anything on the high seas goes to federal court. The controversies to which the United States is a party, so you're having a lawsuit with the United States, that would be in federal court. To controversies between 2 or more states, one state suing another state, say over water rights on the Red River between Oklahoma and Texas, might be in federal court. Between citizens of different states, that's if the issue is over $75,000. Between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or citizens thereof in foreign states, citizens or subjects. Those kinds of things go into federal court as opposed to being in state court. Clause 2 talks about original jurisdiction and appellate jurisdiction. So if I ask you on the test, for example, what would be the original jurisdiction of most cases in the federal system? Where is the beginning of the case? And it's right down here in district court. But the Constitution tells us that in two cases, the Supreme Court right here, the primary appellate court up here, has original jurisdiction. And that's where you have cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those where one state is suing another. In those cases, you start your case up here at the Supreme Court. That generally is not too important, you wouldn't think, but to understand a concept that we will discuss later called judicial review, I think you need to remember that little fact. Clause 3 says, the trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury trials. And such trials shall be held in the state where the said crime shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. And then the last part, Section 3, Clause 1 and 2, is a definition of treason. Very interesting. Treason against the United States shall consist only, you hear people throwing around, that's treason, but it tells you right here in the Constitution exactly what treason is. It's only in levying war against the United States or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or confession in open court. Okay? And then the last one, Clause 2, is the punishment of treason. And if you asked yourself that question, what's the punishment of treason? You would say death, or exile from the United States. There was a wonderful story where a man had to go on a ship his whole life. You may have heard that story, and never got to set foot back in the United States. Wonderful story. But the answer to the question really is, the Congress shall have the power to declare the punishment of treason. But no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. And what that means is this. If you commit the treason, you will be punished. Not your relatives, not your favorite chicken, just you. Okay? So the founders wanted to put that in so that many countries, they might round up all of your relatives and kill them, but they won't do it here. If you're the traitor, you'll be punished, but they will be left alone. So that's Article 3, the judicial article, the federal judiciary. That's a good start for reading in your chapter. We'll see you next time.